What's going on, everyone? So the Los Angeles Lakers still have a lot of work to do this upcoming offseason. They luckily solved their starting center position, got a nice young 3-and-D wing that I think has a ton of potential, ton of upside. But is he a guy that you're going to be able to trust in big moments and big roles? We'll see. Right? I don't want to sell the kid short. Who knows? He could end up being one of the best players on the Lakers next year. I don't know. He could end up being out of the rotation by the end of the season. We will see. Time will tell. But just what we've seen from Jake LaRavia, I think he's a guy that could really step up, play a big role for the Lakers, and give just some real bench production, which is something that the Lakers really lacked last season. They were one of the worst benches in all of basketball. DeAndre Ayton, I think, really solidifies the starting center position. Based on reports, the Lakers believe that the coaching staff will really be able to kind of get him focused, get him locked in with J.J. Redick. Scott Brooks has some familiarity with him in Portland, and then Nate McMillan is a guy that can relate and has seen different personalities and types that he should be able to kind of, that collectively they should be able to kind of get him on the right path to where he can have an impact, which would be fantastic. But there's a lot of talks and conversations about various Lakers trades, right? Most seem to be kind of focused on a center, which I get. You got Jackson Hayes. It'd be nice to go get a more kind of just a better upgrade in the backup. I think Jackson Hayes could play the role if need be, but I would prefer Jackson Hayes kind of in that third big role where he's getting around 10 to maybe 15 minutes a night, kind of just that spot guy, giving high energy, high effort, kind of just playing this role for the Lakers. Where if you get a Nick Richards or an Yves Missi, right? He's a guy that could even give us DeAndre Ayton insurance, because there is a real possibility the Lakers could be right back to trying to solve the center position again next season, right? So this has the potential to be a long-term answer, without a doubt, but it also has the potential to be kind of you just kick the can down the road for another year, right? So we will see how this all plays out. But to me, I think that the Lakers' biggest priority right now should be solving a starting wing, right? Get some defense, some ideally 3-and-D shooters at the 3 spot. I love Rui Hachimura, but Lakers already have, with or without Rui Hachimura, are going to have one of, if not the best offenses in all of basketball, right? And Rui is just a liability defensively. I understand Austin Reaves is as well. Look, if you're familiar with me and my channel, I have no issues trading Austin Reaves. I don't think you trade Austin Reaves for a bag of chips, but I think if you can get a good trade, a good deal for Austin Reaves, yes, I don't think anybody on this team is untouchable except for Luka, because he's the franchise. He's the guy. He's the long-term answer. I think everyone else is expendable to some degree. Obviously, there's guys that I keep more than others, so on and so forth. But to me, I just don't think the Lakers are going to trade Austin Reaves. So it's like, how many times can I talk about trading Austin Reaves when even I don't really believe that they're going to do it? I'm always down for a good conversation, and if there's something that presents itself, then sure, yeah, I'll talk about it. But it's just, I don't think, if I'm being honest, I don't think that the Lakers are going to trade Austin Reaves, at least this offseason. Maybe come the trade deadline, if whatever, somebody emerges and steps up. I don't know. We'll see. Or if somebody becomes available. I don't know. Again, we'll see. But I look at kind of what's the biggest need on this team. And it's, you need somebody that can be a defensive anchor, somebody that can defend out on the perimeter, ideally you'd have to. Like in a perfect world, the Lakers starting 5 is like, Luka Doncic, Andrew Wiggins, and then a Matisse Thybulle and an Andrew Wiggins, or an Andrew Wiggins and a Herb Jones, or a Matisse Thybulle and a Herb Jones with LeBron James and DeAndre Ayton, right? Like that would be a perfect world. I just think realistically, again, Lakers are not going to trade Austin Reaves. Would they bring him off the bench? Maybe, but is that something Austin Reaves wants to do? And also, you don't want to lose Austin Reaves next season for nothing, so you kind of are in this spot where you want to kind of keep him happy. You don't want to kind of upset him where he's like, all right, I'm out of here. Like I don't want to be coming off the bench for the Lakers for my entire career type thing. So it's kind of this fine line that the Lakers got to walk. So to me, I look at like what's the biggest need for Lakers, and I think it's the wing position. I think it's the wing depth, and I think that they really need to kind of solve that. To me, that's the biggest priority. Now, in the same breath, right, that doesn't mean that the Lakers should go and overpay for Andrew Wiggins. That doesn't mean the Lakers should pony up and just overpay for the first quality win that becomes available. I don't think anything like that. I want the Lakers to stay patient, stay the course, right? Like I've talked about with a DeAndre Ayton in particular, but even a Jackson Hayes kind of takes the pressure and that desperation, kind of view from other teams. I think it takes it off the table because, like, it's not. We love a Nick Richards, but we don't have to trade for him, right? We're fine with DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes. Look how good Jackson Hayes was for us last year, right? And that still doesn't leave out the potential of like an Al Horford, and there's talks about maybe a Nikola Vucevic being bought out. We'll see. We'll see what they end up doing in that regard. But if you're the Lakers, you need to present everything the same way. Like, you're fine during I'm not worried about the regular season with this starting unit. I think the Lakers are going to be one of the best teams in all of basketball. They probably win 55 games. Right? The offense is going to be ridiculous. If they're not the best offense, they're probably top 2 or 3 at worst. And that alone is enough to get you by in the race, even in a stacked Western Conference. Like, Lakers will be able to put enough points on the board every night to where they're going to win a lot of games. So I'm not really worried about that and in that regard, but I worry about come playoff time when you do need the defense. And, every playoffs, I don't care how good of an offensive team you are, you run into moments and stretches where the offense dries up. And you need to have your defense at least be good enough to keep you afloat, right? Where we've seen in past years where the Lakers defense has not been able to keep them afloat and they end up getting blown out and the game's over before we even blink, right? Like, that's where my concern lies. That's where my dilemma is. So to me, I look at, can the Lakers solve that wing position? But again, take your time. Andrew Wiggins, he's going to be there. I don't see a team ponying up what the Lakers are willing or what they want the Lakers to pony up now. Granted, is that the Lakers price or just the general price? And even if it is the Lakers price, eventually that starts coming down, especially if they don't have any other takers. How many teams, need a guy like him? I mean, you could argue every team in the league could use another 3-and-D wing, but most teams, he's not going to want to go to a bad team. Any good team probably already has a guy or two like him. And so it's like, how many teams can pony up $28 million in salary, is willing to take on the 2 years of his contract, so on and so forth. So I don't know. Like, I think the Lakers will be in good shape. You're also 3 months out from, the training camp. So it's not something that needs to be rushed. But I do think if something's on the table, you take it. Right? Even at the center position, as much as I think the wing depth is the biggest priority, if tomorrow you could get Nick Richards for essentially just swapping salaries or maybe like a pick swap or something, then fine. Then go do that. Right? But if the prices for a backup center are still pretty hefty, right? And I'd rather, like, if the Lakers have to trade Connect and or a first, I'd rather it be for perimeter help. I'd rather it be for multiple 3-and-D wings or a high tier kind of 3-and-D wing guy and kind of solve the biggest glaring hole. Because again, you look at this Lakers roster and it's like, what's the biggest issue that stands out, particularly in the starting unit? There is zero defense. Lakers are just, hey, forget about defense. We're just going to be the best offense in all of basketball. That's where my concern lies. Now, look, maybe if DeAndre Ayton kind of buys in a little bit and he kind of really engages on the defense side, that could help a ton. Austin Reaves, can he maybe take some steps defensively? He's never been, as much as people will talk about him being atrocious, he's never been atrocious. He has his moments, don't get me wrong, but he's always been at least a serviceable defensive player. So can he kind of maintain and continue to stay serviceable, right? Like, maybe the Lakers are like okay defensively. Right? You think of like the Denver Nuggets, right? They were 15th ranked defense and they were second worst in the playoffs during their championship run. But their offense was so good and such a well-oiled machine, they just ran through everybody. Right? Like, the closest anyone came to beating them was the Phoenix Suns, and that's because Devin Booker shot like a historic all-time great. I think it was like 72% or something crazy like that from the floor. Right? So, and they still weren't able to beat. They still only got 2 games out of it. So, if the Lakers' offense is good enough, then it is possible that they at least have a chance, right matchup, so on and so forth. But ideally, you want to kind of try to help and solve some of the defensive woes. Now, look, Lakers could go bring in DeAnthony Melton and Ryan Rollins and whatever else, right? They could bring in several guys that can defend, but you need somebody that's like none of those guys I look at as a clear-cut starting defensive piece that you want slotted at the 3 spot alongside Luka and Austin Reaves, right? And I don't know if the Lakers are going to be able to kind of solve that anytime soon, but that again, that's fine. Kind of let things develop, let things kind of come to you, right? Like so many people, Rob Pelinka just keeps having things falling into his lap. Is it, or has he just been patient enough to let things develop and fall into his lap, right? If Rob Pelinka would have done what everyone wanted him to do and overpay for like a Nick Claxton or something like that, guess where we'd be at right now? All of us would be screaming, why did you overpay for Nick Claxton when you could have gotten a DeAndre Ayton for free? Right? But look, everyone was screaming, a week before DeAndre Ayton became available to trade and do whatever you have to get a center. Lakers have no center, blah, 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 blah. Right? So again, the patient route is always going to be the best route. However, I do think the Lakers need to, if I'm the Lakers, I want to at least be a little semi-aggressive in my pursuit for a wing. If you can get a quality wing, I think you got to do it. Right? But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. It helps me a lot. We enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.